Imagine God asked you to kill your own child. Not as a test of strength, not as a punishment, as a test of faith. Would you do it? Soren Kierkegaard spent his entire career thinking about this question. The story is from Genesis. God tells Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. Abraham says nothing. He takes Isaac to Mount Moriah. He binds him. He raises the knife. And at the last moment, an angel stops him. A ram appears. Isaac is spared. Kierkegaard asked, what was Abraham thinking during those 3 days? Walking with his son, knowing he was going to kill him. Not fighting. Not arguing with God. Not telling anyone. Just walking. In absolute silence. Absolute faith. Kierkegaard called this the night of faith. This is Soren Kierkegaard philosophy reduced to one question. Can you believe something so completely that you would sacrifice everything for it, without proof, without reason, without anyone understanding? This is Kierkegaard existentialism, and it is the most radical idea we have covered in this series. Soren Kierkegaard was born in Copenhagen in 1813. His father was a wealthy merchant who believed God had cursed their family. 5 of his 7 children died before him. Kierkegaard grew up convinced he would die young too. He was brilliant, difficult, and deeply strange. He wrote under pseudonyms, Johannes de Silentio, Victor Eremita, Anticlimacus. He attacked the Danish church. He broke off his engagement to the love of his life, Regine Olsen, and never stopped writing about her. Kierkegaard anxiety was not a concept he studied. It was what he lived. He published Either Or in 1843, Fear and Trembling the same year, The Concept of Anxiety in 1844, The Sickness unto Death in 1849. In 6 years, he produced some of the most original philosophy ever written. Then he died at 42. This is Mindscape philosophy. We take the ideas that actually change lives and show you why they matter. Today, the father of existentialism. The man who asked what you would sacrifice for what you believe. You have seen the other videos about Kierkegaard, the biography, the summary of Either Or, the quote about anxiety being the dizziness of freedom. They all cover the same ground. This is not one of those videos. Here is the core idea. Kierkegaard believed there are 3 stages of life: the aesthetic, living for pleasure, novelty, distraction; the ethical, living by rules, duty, social norms; and the religious, the leap of faith into the absurd. The aesthetic life is ultimately despair. You chase pleasure after pleasure and nothing satisfies. The ethical life is better, but it is still incomplete. You follow rules, but you never transcend them. The religious life is the only one that answers the deepest human need. But here is the catch. The leap from the ethical to the religious is not rational. It cannot be explained. It cannot be justified. It is absurd. The ethical person would say Abraham is a murderer. The religious person says he is the father of faith. There is no way to prove which one is right. This is what Kierkegaard meant by the leap. Not a gentle step, not a reasonable conclusion. A leap into the absurd, a decision to believe something that cannot be proven, because without it, life has no ultimate meaning. And here is the part every other summary misses. Kierkegaard did not think faith was easy. He thought it was the hardest thing a human being could do. Faith is not comfort. Faith is terror. Standing before God with no proof, that is the most terrifying freedom there is. Kierkegaard wrote a book called The Concept of Anxiety. It is dense, difficult, and one of the most important works of existentialist philosophy ever written. His central claim: anxiety is not a disorder. It is the dizziness of freedom. When you stand at the edge of a cliff, you feel 2 things simultaneously: fear of falling, and the impulse to jump. That impulse, the awareness that you could jump, that nothing is stopping you, that is anxiety. The awareness of your own freedom. The terrifying knowledge that you could destroy your life with a single choice. Kierkegaard argued that anxiety increases with freedom. The more choices you have, the more anxious you become. This is exactly the modern condition. Endless options, endless anxiety. He saw this in 1844, before the internet, before social media, before any of the things we blame for our anxiety today. But Kierkegaard did not see anxiety as the enemy. He saw it as the teacher. Anxiety reveals that you are free, that you could choose differently, that your life is not predetermined. Anxiety is the price of being human, and running from it is running from yourself. Stop. You can find the 3 stages in any video about Kierkegaard. You can find the leap of faith in any textbook. What comes next is the part that none of the other videos will tell you. This is the part that actually changes how you live. Kierkegaard wrote The Sickness unto Death about despair. His argument is devastating and elegant. Despair is not feeling sad. Despair is not wanting to be yourself or wanting to be someone else. It is the misalignment between who you are and who you were meant to be. Kierkegaard identified 2 forms of despair. 1. Not wanting to be yourself. You wish you were someone else, more successful, more attractive, more anything. 2. Wanting to be yourself, but refusing to become who you could be, staying small, staying safe, never leaping. The cure for despair is not happiness, it is faith. Not necessarily religious faith, although Kierkegaard was Christian. Faith in the sense of committing to something, choosing a path, becoming a self. The opposite of despair is not joy, it is decision. Kierkegaard wrote, "The most common form of despair is not being who you are, and the deepest form of despair is choosing to be someone other than yourself. This is the most penetrating diagnosis of the modern condition ever written, and it was written in 1849. You know this despair. It is the reason you scroll social media comparing your life to others. It is the reason you avoid difficult decisions. It is the reason Sunday evenings feel heavy. You are avoiding the self you could become. Let me bring this to today. Every time you swipe on a dating app, you are living Kierkegaard's aesthetic stage. Endless options, no commitment, the pursuit of the next thing, and underneath it, despair. Every time you follow a career path because it is expected of you, you are living the ethical stage, doing the right thing, following the rules, making your parents proud, and feeling, somewhere underneath, that something is missing. The leap is the thing you are avoiding, the conversation you are not having, the decision you are postponing, the version of yourself you are afraid to become. Kierkegaard would say, the only way out is through. You must leap. And here is the strangest part. Once you leap, once you commit, the anxiety does not disappear, but it transforms. It becomes the energy of purpose. The anxiety of freedom becomes the anxiety of responsibility. And that, Kierkegaard would say, is the only kind of anxiety worth having. Kierkegaard wrote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. You cannot figure it out first and then live. You must live first, and the understanding comes later, or never." 3 practices. 1. The leap audit. Identify one decision you have been postponing because you are waiting for certainty. There is no certainty. Leap. Make the choice. Own it. 2. The despair check. Notice one moment today when you wish you were someone else. Not self-improvement. Escape. Catch it. Say, this is despair. And then ask, what would the self I am avoiding do right now? 3. The night of faith moment. Do one thing today that makes no sense to anyone but you, not to be rebellious, because you believe in it. That is the leap. That is the night of faith. That is the only life worth living. Kierkegaard was the father of existentialism, but existentialism grew beyond him. The next philosopher took Kierkegaard's ideas about anxiety, freedom, and the absurd, and built an entire movement on them. Jean-Paul Sartre. Existentialism is a humanism. We covered him in episode 3, but we did not tell you the full story of how he was influenced by Kierkegaard. How the concept of anxiety became the foundation of existentialist philosophy, and how Sartre took Kierkegaard's Christian existentialism and made it radically atheist. If you have not watched episode 3, now is the time. The full series, From Stoicism to Frankl, is on the Mindscape Philosophy playlist. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one. This is Mindscape Philosophy. Tomorrow morning, one leap, that is your freedom. That is your faith. See you next week.